I know we all like to rush. We like to rush to the finish line and see the victory and celebrate and have the next milestone done, the next achievement unlocked. But what if it takes time in reality to grow something? And I know that from my personal experience because on the one hand, it's fun and nice to play video games, online games in particular, because they really solve this issue of making everything feel like you can rush through things. They're called speedrunners that set a challenge and figure it out and like get through things really fast. What I've seen in the online games world and playing video games and all that does not translate to reality. And yet we get so used to that dopamine rush of, oh yeah, finally the next unlock. When in reality, it really does take time. So how do we manage or what should we know or think about when we are growing a business? And this comes from this comes from a guy that played online games for a long time. I'm now married for over 5 years, have 2 kids at home, and I'm growing a business. So I don't play any games anymore because it tricked my brain into thinking I can rush through things, especially in the business world. And so these are lessons that I want to share with you today that I personally lived through. I'm looking down at my notes so I don't get too far off track because I have a tendency to do that. So I'm trying to stick through my notes. There are a few lessons I learned along the way that I've now done over 10,000 hours building my business. I have over 400 videos for YouTube produced, over 100 podcasts published, and a lot of other milestones along the way. And the one lesson from that is consistency compounds, tactics tire out. When I try to rush through the next milestone, one thing that kept popping up is that I just wear out. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. You can also speak about it as burnout. And when I looked at it, it was not that the actions themselves were the hard part. The hard part was that I kept changing tactics. I was jumping from boat to boat to boat to boat because I thought that every boat would be faster to get me to the finish line. And in reality, and that's kind of another observation from all that, is the only thing that is moving you forward is the consistency of action taken, not plans made, not ambitions, not ideas, not thoughts, no matter how often you visualize something and think about it, daydream, if you don't do the thing, you're not moving forward. And so what I've seen is that I've tried to publish daily YouTube videos for 2 months, and then I broke down with it because the system, the actions I was taking to do that were not possible for me to actually commit to. On the contrary, I'm publishing a daily newsletter, and I've done over 350 days with that. And so the question is, how do you make something so that you can be consistent with it, so that it can compound? And that's the interesting question after all. Another lesson I learned is you need to show up for them before they show up for you. One part to them might need to be explaining. That might need a little bit of explaining, because them is whoever your target audience, your target person is. You need to show up for whoever it is that you're trying to serve a lot more than you might think in the beginning. Now I can get all scientific about it. There is a framework published by YouTube, by Google study called ZMOT. Zero moment of truth is when the deciding moment in a purchasing decision comes up. The question is, what gets people there? And that's the interesting stuff. Like, the result shows that it is 7 hours, 11 interactions across 4 platforms. On average, is the amount it takes for somebody to be like, okay, I show up for you. I commit to what you're doing. And so if you can look at the content you're producing or at the actions you've taken so far, and it doesn't add up to at least 7 hours, and it doesn't at least contain 11 interactions, so 11 YouTube videos, and it's not spread across 4 platforms, you're not going to succeed. Yes, there are ways that can build around that. Like, who was it? Ralston? I forgot his first name now. But he published a 7 hours masterclass on YouTube, and that one took off. And he could skip some of the other steps, but he did not skip the time. And so that's something that I observe over and over again, is that the time people spend with you is the massive compounding effect of building the relationship. And so if you haven't shown up for one person online, offline for at least 7 hours, don't expect them to show up for you if you haven't shown up for them. And so that is the hard part. And it takes time, because 7 hours is not done in 5 minutes. It takes at least 7 hours of recording time for you to hit that number with the minimum. Then you didn't edit the videos yet. You didn't do anything with them besides film them. And it takes into consideration that your filming time is actually what comes out at the end and is not getting cropped down. And so just be reminded that you need to show up more for them before they can show up for you. Now, sometimes life throws curveballs at you. It does so for me, and curveballs just appear sometimes, and I can't do anything about them. So it's almost a month now from this video to my last video, and I was ready to start publishing. Now what happened? Well, I lost my voice 2 days after I filmed the first video. And I didn't get my voice fully back until 3 weeks later. So that's a rough time, because it's not that I don't want to show up, it's that I can sit here and not talk. And I had to use the voice that I had for my clients because they showed up for me already, so I want to show up for them. And even that was challenging with a little bit of voice that I had, and probably also didn't, maybe like I didn't take it too easy, or I didn't take it so easy on my voice to recover easily. And so that's also always kicking me in then afterwards. But the takeaway is that sometimes it is harder for you to show up, and that's okay. I'm not here to blame myself for not posting in a month because that's just how it is sometimes. And that's why it does take time. And you can't rush things through because, I mean, sometimes there are other priorities that need to be first solved before you can show up in front of the camera, before you can do whatever action is required for you to take. That said, I'm not saying make easy excuses. There is a difference between having other priorities and having excuses. We can't hide behind excuses, but we need to understand that sometimes other priorities take the prior seed to the action. And another big point that I learned over the years is don't sprint in your first marathon. That lesson is really a hard one that I really don't like to learn, because whatever I do, I'm always like full force, like, let's go 120%. And that's true for most cases. There are a few exceptions, and business is one of the exceptions. So if I'm playing a board game, I know the stakes, I know the end, and it's going to take me maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So when I sit down at a board game, I play at 100%, 120%, 150% commitment, because I'm in it to win it. Now, life doesn't work like that, right? I need to show up, and I don't know the finish line. The finish line is an ever-moving target, because in business, when I feel like, oh, I'm finally done, something shows up, and I need to take a step back. It's the same thing that I observe, and the lesson became more obvious to me when I was doing parenting. Because in parenting, you cannot do 150% today and then be like, okay, now we should have learned the lesson, and tomorrow I don't need a parent anymore. That's sadly not the reality. Or, I mean, it's also good, because it takes time to parent. It takes time to grow up. And so I can't teach my son all the lessons I want him to learn in life with 3 years old. That's also another motivator for me to film the videos, because I want there to be the information that I would like him to learn when he's ready to learn it. And so one way for me to do parenting in the future is to film the videos here, because that gives me the opportunity to record the lesson while I'm in the deepest understanding of it, or in the best position to share the lesson. And then maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years down the line, he can watch this video and be like, okay, so that was a good lesson. But he's ready for the lesson. And so I can't rush him to get to the finish line. And so that's what I mean with like a marathon compared to a sprint. A marathon, and that's where it's also a bad example, because a marathon still has a finish line. And the finish line is, I think, after 42 kilometers. I'm not a runner at all. I just know that I've done sports, and most sports are short. And so while I was playing football in high school, like 5K were not a challenge to me at all. Now, if I would run 5K today, I would be out after the first maybe 200 meters, because I have not done the practice. I have not built up momentum. I have not built up the consistency of practice, of the action that is required to run the mile, to run the marathon. And so I can share the lesson because I've lived it in both ways. And filming YouTube videos, writing newsletters is not much different than running. Start by running 100 meters per day, every day, then add more to it. Well, when it becomes simple is when you can start adding. And even then, I'm questioning how much I should add to actually be sufficient. Different story, different day. But the lesson still sticks, is that we should not try to rush through our first marathon when we don't know how far the finish line actually. And so build out the habit, make simple tasks, and just do them every day. Do them every week. And that is what, in the end, builds you the momentum and gets you the traction. And so stop asking when you arrive, when will I be there? When will I be there? How many of you have heard that question from the back seat? How far is it? What are we there? And start acting in a way that makes sure you're here for the long haul, because that's the difference. Showing up for them more than they show up for you. showing up consistently over time builds the momentum, and the momentum compounds. And that's how it is. And so what if it just takes time? Are you able to give it that time?